How are you today? I hope you're doing as good as I'm doing. I'm doing good enough that your boy is sporting the ascot. Today's a special day, and I'll tell you why it's a special day. Because Paleocrat Diaries is on Reason and Theology. Come on, son! Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. How pumped are you about that, by the way? How pumped are you? I hope you're mega psyched. That Wolfpack better be in that comment section like right about now. Right now. Okay, we've got the smoke signals. As always, they have been let up into the sky. The carrier pigeons here at Paleocrat headquarters have been released. The message has gotten out there that your boy is on. Very first time, very first Monday right here. I originally said it was going to be at 10. That was incorrect. It was incorrect. There was no 10 o'clock. And why wasn't it 10 o'clock? I'll tell you why. Because Michael Lofton is in that funky zone called Central Time. I didn't even know Central Time was around anymore. I thought that was fake. I thought it was fake. I thought we just gave up on that. And we just said everybody's supposed to get into Eastern Time. And why is that? Because that's where Paleocrat Diaries is. That's why. Ow! I hope you love it. It is Monday, November 8th. And we're going to rock out this show. We're going to do a great job real quick, right out of the gate. Whole bunch of people, wine show. Nice to see you in there. It says, yo, let's go. Dude, we got to go, man. It's on like Donkey Kong, son. When you hear that music right there, you know what time it is. You do. You know what time it is. Andrea says, hello from Italy. This would be an afternoon show for me, since here it is 4:40 p.m. Yeah. Well, now you get to see me at, well, it's an afternoon show for you anytime I'm on then, right? Anytime I'm on. That's not special. That's not special. What are you trying to do? You're trying to be cool in there, man. No, you are cool. We love you, of course, Andrea. It's good to see you. Where will the, right here, let's see, PX Smith says, where will the Paleocrat add Tuesday and Thursday? I don't know, bro. I am not entirely sure where we're going to be doing that, but it seems though, I think Tim Flanders was right, you know? He said something, he alluded to this idea that the Paleocrat empire is expanding. I think it's true. I think it's true. We've made our way into Meaning of Catholic. We've made our way onto Crusade Channel. We've made our way now onto, of course, Reason and Theology. So we're finding our way. We're finding little spots here and there. And these aren't little spots, are they? These are big gigs. This is serious business. Okay? If you're hanging out with the folks at MOC and you're hanging out with the folks at R&T, you are doing something pretty decent, but I have to say, right, that to be quite frank, it's because of you. It's because of you. Not only because you inspire me every single day to give it the best I can, which is what we do here, right? We take a knee for Jesus Christ, and we recommit every single day. We recommit to this crazy endeavor. It's a crazy endeavor that my daughter taught me. My daughter, she lived it out. She taught me by example to never give up, to keep on smiling, and to remember that one day we too shall die. And that if we know that, if we just accept that, we understand that, we embrace it and say, let's go, let's make it happen. If we do that, then we can focus on those things that we love, that we long to do, to dream bigger thoughts and make it come true. And that's exactly what we do here. That's exactly what we do here. So look, I've been 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. I've done it. I did it on radio. I did it on YouTube. I don't mind doing extra shows. But I'm busy now. I'm over on Telegram. By the way, if you are not situated over there on Telegram, let's just go ahead and just pop that bad boy up right now. Watch this. Boink. Yeah, don't you love that? Boink. Yeah, so right here, check it out. Right there's the Wolfpack chat. Do not be misled by the number of members. People go, oh, you have 124 members. Why are you promoting that? You've got way more members you've got way more followers on Facebook. You got way more followers on Twitter. That's because none of those platforms can do what this does. Ask any members of the Wolfpack, anybody inside this chat. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're a member of the Wolfpack, put up the wolf. Put up the wolf. Show them who you are. Show them who you are, right? Because we've got it going on. We have a book club, for crying out loud. We got a book club, the Canine Brigade. We actually had our first meeting. We had a video chat, a video conference, whole bunch of people, and we talked about the first 3 chapters of St. Teresa of Avila's Interior Castle. Okay, that's what we did. We also have the Wolfpack resources. It's a resource center of, epic awesomeness. So anything that we mention here on the program, things that we talk about, whether they are disciplines or novenas or things, anything, even methods of hearing mass. People didn't believe me. They thought I was making it up. I said, no. In fact, I have the Father Lassant's indulgence method of hearing mass, and I made that publicly available, took screenshots of all those. You can find that over at the Resource Center. And then we also have a prayer chain. We have a prayer chain, and I've been praying with folks. There was actually a couple people. In fact, Jacob Fowler, he's in here. He read the gospel portion, not yesterday, but the day before, during the prayer part, because we were going through the total consecration to the Blessed Virgin Mary. So we do all that stuff. But it's awesome because it sets it up this way. Check it out real fast. I ain't even going to go over it very long. But you got to go. If you're like, oh, I just want to see the pictures. I just want to see the videos. Oh, there it is. Like this one, for example. This one. My buddy here. In fact, I might as well just pop this up real quick. Let's take a quick break here from this. Check this out. You're going to love it. Yeah, this. It's 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. Is that close enough? Is that close enough to noon that I'm allowed to do this and it's not, too shady or anything? So yeah, Jersey 1683, the Tridentine Brewing Company. And I'm planning on going down there, making some Mr. Rogers styled videos where you show what they do, you interview them, you talk to them about how they're making the neighborhood great and stuff like that, and spreading the message, right, of the Catholic Church, which is what they're doing. And they're a fantastic group of guys. But this is that coffee infused. Do you pronounce it Kolsch? Is that how you pronounce it? Coffee infused Kolsch-like beer. Yeah, and I'll show you the art. The art is always amazing. We have magnets. I'll give magnets away and stuff on Telegram, as well as on Patreon. All that stuff. Well, it's not in the description yet, but we'll get it there. So okay, back to this. Bam. So check it out. So he goes dumpster diving, passes by this place, whole bunch of trash, quote unquote. Right? What does he find? You can't see it. You can't see the pop up. Okay. Well, look at that, a Beretta. These right here, those bunch of books, they're kind of lined up. Chesterton. I bet you they're first, second editions. There's one right there. Is that Wolsey? That's Hilary Belloc. I mean, just tons of these books. So we've got all different stuff. That's our librarian from the book club. She's the moderator of the chat and stuff. So she's there. These are some kids who enjoyed, in fact, the last couple nights going to sleep, listening to the prayers that we do. Apparently my voice put them to sleep. I don't know how that even happened. Right there's Jake Fowler. So as I said, there was our pizza party right there. We had a pizza party when we got to 100. When we got to 100, we're already at 124. We're gonna have to have another party because if you are watching this right now and if you are not presently a member, you got to be, because it's not just that, it's files. Okay, so any of the PDFs we share, all the links, bada boom, all the music that we share. It turns into a playlist. All of the voice messages and small video chats and every single GIF that we make. All of that right there. You can find that, of course, the Wolfpack chat or at Paleocrat on Telegram. All right. So, sorry about that. Okay, before we get into everything, I got to say real quickly, because it's not just me, it's also Mr. Lofton. And by the way, if you love Mr. Lofton, you can release a massive howl. I don't care where you are. I don't care where you are. Maybe you're around some old ladies. There's a bunch of old ladies. If you're in church, don't howl. What do you? I don't even know why you'd be listening to this if you're in church. With your headphones on, you're a real junkie at that point. You're not. That's not good. That's not good. So don't do that. But anywhere else, just howl. And if somebody comes over, just make up some crazy excuse as to what the reason why. Something happened. You stubbed your toe. They didn't hear what they thought they heard. Whatever you got to do. But let the world know that you're grateful for folks like Michael Lofton. Let the world know that you're grateful for channels, for YouTube channels and apostolates like Reason and Theology, because isn't he doing amazing work? Yes, it's an honor. I'm out of my league. I'm not too prideful to say that. I'm out of my league even rolling with folks like him and Tim Flanders and all them, Kennedy Hall, like the people at 1 Peter 5. I'm like, I don't even know how I got in here. I think they've mistaken me for somebody else. I don't know, but it's a real honor to be part of that group, But here's another thing, way out of my league. I got spilled stuff on. It's all grody on the front. Sorry about that. Or on the back. There we go. That's better. Man, what did I spill on there? Well, at least it's hardcover and you can easily wipe it off. Look at that. Okay. Right here, the Saint Maker. If you are not yet part of that movement of people who have figured out that there is a really, 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 really great life planner that can help them to organize not just the everyday run-of-the-mill stuff, and that's super important, but also to lay out plans for months ahead, the year in advance, to be able to reflect on the season that just passed you by, to keep you on track with all of the various feasts and holy days and everything else, and the different saints throughout the year, different customs and traditions that you can do during different feasts to honor the saints. And just, if you are into that, if you have not yet done that, I strongly implore you, and you can do it one of two ways. And I will say the first way first. I will say Reason and Theology. Okay, Reason and Theology. I'm on the channel. Reason and Theology. You can go there and you can support Michael Lofton. That's one way, because he'll get a cut from that, so you're able to support him that way. If you would like to support me and what I do, okay, go ahead and you can do it at Paleocrat Diaries. You'll see my link there, my affiliate page, at the end of this ad. Once we get back, we're going to go right into it. We can't play around. We got too much to talk about, right? We can't just play footsies all day long, as much as I would like that. I'd like to be playing some footsies. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of grody if you think about it, but we can't joke around because we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be covering an amazing book called How Not to Be Secular, Reading Charles Taylor, by James K.A. Smith, which covers, of course, the magnificent, massive tome of a book by Catholic philosopher Charles Taylor, entitled A Secular Age. So right after this, quick promotion by Saint Maker. We'll be right back with more Paleocrat Diaries. First episode here on Reason and Theology. Can a personal planner really make you a saint? Not by itself. But in our day and age of addictive apps and glowing screens, we're bombarded by constant distraction, and our quest for sainthood often takes a backseat. The Saint Maker is the first high-performance planner for the spiritual life, made by faithful Catholics for faithful Catholics. It's a work of genius, really, fusing the wisdom of the saints with the science of personal productivity. It's rigorous, but sainthood is tough, and most of us need help organizing our time, our work, our leisure, and our devotion, because that can help you become a saint. The Saint Maker is elegant, fits in your purse or briefcase, and is a perfect companion for your missal, Bible, or rosary. Published 4 times per year, each season includes daily planning pages, feast days, and devotions for both forms of the liturgical calendar, goal-setting pages, confession journals, and more. It's why the Saint Maker is used by hardworking Catholics, like CEO of Sock Religious Scott Williams, best-selling author Sam Guzman, YouTubers like Amber Schneider, a Catholic wife Dina Barca, and Brian Holdsworth, and priests like Father Corey Stitcha. Try the Saint Maker out, and if you decide that it's not for you, you can send it back for a full refund within 90 days. So go right now. Find your life planner at thesaintmaker.com. Quantities are limited though, so head on over to thesaintmaker.com to order yours and to start your Saint Maker journey today. You gots to do it. You absolutely 100% have to go do it, like right now. Speaking of right now, we are going to enter the octagon. We are entering the octagon, the octagon of history, diving in head first, going neck deep and even deeper, right? We might drown a little bit. You're gonna have to help your boy, okay? You're gonna have to help me because we're going deep, and there's a lot of depth in this bad mamma jamma. There's a whole bunch. Look at this thing. It weighs like, 30 pounds. I gotta have a backpack uniquely for this thing. They're like, what are you carrying? And I said, I'm carrying secular age. And they're like, oh, I understand. I definitely understand that, buddy. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into apologetics. We're gonna get into the new evangelization. We're gonna get into what I call the sales-in method of the new re-evangelization. We're gonna get into all this stuff, and it's a series uniquely suited here for Reason and Theology. And by the way, Reason and Theology in the comment section says Paleocrat Mondays. That's what it is, son. Paleocrat Mondays. I made his wife laugh. I think that's why he hired. He's like, look, man, you gotta come over, man. My wife was cracking up, dude. I hope so. And I hope she enjoys this nice little piece of clothing I've got here, this ascot, special occasion ascot. As well, check this out. I have the White Horse Tavern. I have a special glass from White Horse Tavern. Very, very sentimental, very important. Figured it was a great way to start this. No, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Hold on. Yep, that's the noise. Here we go. Yeah, White Horse. Straight to the dome. Straight to the dome, son. So get out your pens and paper right now. Right? Dash over to the bag. Dash over to the briefcase. Wherever you've got them hidden, underneath your pillow. You're one of those weirdos that keeps pens and markers under your pillow. I understand. I do it too. But go right now. Grab them, get them ready, because you're going to want to take notes. Or you can be the clever person and take some screenshots. Take some screenshots. And the reason why we're going to take some screenshots is because I share highlighted portions from the book. Okay? I share highlighted portions that I want to emphasize. We can go ahead and let's see this right now. There we go. Check this out. Check this out. Oh yeah. Oh, you want to see something really cool? Well, I said something about the wolves, right? Bada boom, bada bing. There you go. There you go. That right there. You got some wolves in there. Okay, you got some of the wolves. Wow. Look at this. Look at this. You gotta love it. You've gotta love it. Right here. Not Kolsch-like. It's and the Irish. I don't even know how to like. What the world you talking about, son? Oh no. I'm not drinking beer through a straw. So somebody in the comments is like, oh, you're drinking. Oh, Haley. Yeah, Haley. Hallelujah. Yeah, she's not only the moderator over here. How awesome is she? Give her a big round of applause, by the way. Yeah, give her a big round of applause. Because she's not only a moderator here, she is also the admin of the Wolfpack prayer chain on Telegram. So if you love her, and I know you do, you got to go over right now. You got to go do it. So very grateful. No, that is not beer. That is not beer. My wife gave me that. I don't drink beer through a straw, but I do drink juice through a straw. I don't drink pop through a straw. Well, yeah, I do. I drink pop through a straw. But coffee, okay, I got to start with this. All right, man. All right. And then I've got to do this. I got to do this, okay? And I'm probably pronouncing it mad wrong, okay? I'm just going to call it the Jersey, okay? It's the Jersey 1683. I've got some magnets with this image on it. We can, if I've got two of them, I can, well, I'll probably just give one away anyway, man. I know they'll hook me up. I know they will. I'm going to go down there. We're going to do a cool interview, so I know they're going to do a great job with that. But let's go ahead. We're going to try a quick sip of this. I told them I ain't going to lie. I can't lie anyway. If it tastes bad, you're going to see it in my face. And yes, people in the comment were asking if I opened it before the show. Yes, I did. And if you want to know why, the video is available on Reason and Theology. You got it. It's like a minute long. I don't know why I didn't list it as a short though, or maybe it did. Maybe it did. But it's in the uploads right now. Michael uploaded it today, and so you can go ahead and you can see what happened when I opened a bottle. And that doesn't normally happen, but I didn't want it to happen again on the show. So I just said I'm going to make sure, and it didn't happen at all. There's no Sudsy Woodsy coming out of this thing trying to fight me. Sud's trying to punch me in the face. I won, though. I won. I took it down. So, okay, you're going. These people know how to brew beer. They know how to brew beer. I need this in the IV. I need this in the IV. Yo, baby, grab that beer IV. Hook me up while I'm on air. It's okay. Strap me up. Just hook up the needle. Just go for it. Yeah, all right. So, okay. Very, 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 very good. Let's get to it. So right there, we'll go back to the comments throughout the program. We'll go a little bit later. By the way, if you have a question or you have a comment specifically that you really want for me to look at and address on the show, do what Jacob Fowler did. Okay, you can see that he put Paleocrat, locate my question above, and announce the winner. Okay, well, let's see what his question is. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Locate your question above. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. You didn't put my name again. I'm not gonna go and look through every single one to try to find you, bro. Not gonna do it, man. You gotta repost that bad boy. I ain't playing around. So, okay, here we go. Let's get this window capture off there. All right, so I wanted to talk about this book, okay? This book, How Not to Be Secular, right? James K.A. Smith. Real quick thing about him. In fact, one of the things that's kind of cool about this, and one of the reasons why I was particularly glad when a friend of mine, he sent me this book. A friend of mine, we were friends while I was a Calvinist. He was one of those who lamented greatly when I became a Roman Catholic. He saw it coming though, right? Because I was part of the Federal Vision movement. You know, he called that the Golden Brick Road to Rome. It's true. It's totally true. so he knew it was coming. And so he's found himself into the Anglo-Catholic community at this point. But when he really lamented the fact that I fell away, you know, he was bummed out about it. He had his worries. And when I started making my way back, there were a few people I wanted to call, and he was one of those people. And so we talked, and I said, you know, I'm still struggling with things. You know, I don't really know where I stand on a lot of stuff. I've been an atheist for like 7 years. You know, it really messes with you badly. And he said, I got a book for you. I want to send you this book. And he sent it to me, and I read it, and it was powerful. It played a massive role in helping me to understand not only myself, but kind of where everybody has found themselves, whether they like it or not, even whether maybe they even realize it or not. That's just simply the era that we happen to be residing in, that we're living and moving and having our being within this cultural context. And so it helped me. And it didn't just help me to understand who I had been or why I had done the things that I'd done or why I felt the way that I felt, but it also helped me to understand how I can escape that. You know, what helps a person who's struggling in that way? What can people do to avoid the pitfalls, that cesspool of secularism that's all around us? What can you do? And how can you best evangelize? How can you reach out to other people? You know, what are things to avoid? Even assumptions, maybe. Assumptions like, for example, that if someone is an unbeliever, that they are just automatically someone who's down with new atheism. That's fake. That's fake. In fact, at this point, that's fake for even the atheist community. By and large, the horsemen at this point are kind of like riding on donkeys at this point. They're not the popular guys they used to be. Of course, Hitchens is gone. You know, but the atheist community doesn't have much reverence for the democracy of the dead. And so they have there's very little lasting appreciation for the man. You know, I'm a believer, and I have a kind of appreciation. I've seen the movie Collision, and if you haven't seen Collision, where it's Christopher Hitchens, and he's rolling around with Douglas Wilson, and they're going around and they're debating. It's a fascinating film. There's a great conversation, my two favorite conversations. One of them is in a bar that has to do with the end times, and Hitchens mistakenly assumes that Wilson believes in a kind of pre-trib rapture, end times mania, cuckoo nonsense stuff. And he does not. He does not. He is a preterist. And so he clarified that. But my favorite one, though, was the conversation in the limousine, right? As they're driving around, and the question comes up as to whether or not Christopher Hitchens would like to see Christianity disappear. And it was a fascinating tale. But I even have some respect for that. But so many people in the secular community at this point, you know, they're so beholden, for whatever reason. There's a variety of them, but they're so beholden to SJWism, right? That wonderland of wickedness, the wigwam of nonsense that's floating around there with social justice warriorship. And I don't want to throw social justice under the bus. That's got a Catholic pedigree. But the way that they treat it, I mean, because it's entirely within an eminent frame. It's entirely within an eminent frame. But my point is, this book helped me to understand. This book helped me to understand where I was going, what I wanted to do, how I could do it, how I could get myself out of the rut that I'd been in. Because it's like any kind of sin that you engage with. The longer you do it, the deeper it makes its way into your life. And sometimes just being around in a certain milieu that without even thinking about it, it just you kind of saturate. You're like a sponge, and you slowly begin to adopt, and you slowly begin to embrace, you slowly begin to adapt to this thing, and not even realize it. It's like growing old. It's like getting wrinkles and not realizing it until you look like, you're smiling in a mirror one day and you look like you got a random McNally roadmap on the side of your face. You're smiling like, oh my gosh, what is that? You're looking at Botox and stuff. You're like, why am I looking at Botox? But it helped. It helped. And another thing that helped, and this is going to be the heart of this, and I in the future, I'll put this on the screen at the beginning. And not to pray it every time. I'm not the kind of person that normally will just get on a show and just start praying. Okay, I go on shows like with Meaning of Catholic. We do Terror of Demons, praise at the beginning of the show, right? Same thing with Off the Record. Anything that Tim does, that's one of the things that he does. He's very unique about that. It's not normally something I do. There have been occasions though where we've prayed. There have been occasions where the first time it ever happened, it was a live show, and somebody had to go to the emergency room. Somebody in the comment section had to go to the emergency room because their blood pressure and heart rate were so high that they thought they were going to die. And they had to call the ambulance, and they had to rush them over, okay? So we stopped right there, just full stop, and just started praying. So there have been times where we've done that, and I would like to do that today. Even just the one time. To say in this series, the one time to kind of put ourselves in the mental space, in the spiritual space that says this is the direction that we're going. This is the heart of the matter. I kind of think of it like St. Francis de Sales. He goes and he's writing out to the folks of Geneva. A whole bunch of people had apostatized. A whole bunch of people, separated brethren, had found their way into the clutches of Calvinism. And so he has a heart for them. And he decides to go out and put himself out there. He's being threatened all the time, being told he's going to get kicked out. So he starts writing these letters and even putting them under doors, passing them around. He's using any means possible, all means necessary type stuff. That's like, Catholic guerrilla warrior stuff for evangelism, for re-evangelization. But he started with this idea that said, it's got to be love. It's got to be love. And I feel the same way. In approaching this topic, I want to make it really clear that there were people for me, while I was an unbeliever, there were people in my life that were there for me during some of the worst times of my life. I got to know them. A lot of them are your average Johnny Q. Sally Sue. That's what I call people, right? Your average folk. They're just normal, everyday people. But they found themselves, and a lot of them used to be extraordinarily enthusiastic. And I mean that in the strict Knoxian sense that we talked about on the Enthusiasm series, which can be found in the Jeremiah Bannister playlist at Meaning of Catholic. And I'm putting together another one it skips over all of the intros and stuff. But they were enthusiasts. They were the kind of people that were super energetic about God. Sold out, the kind that would complain about hypocrisy, the kind that would complain and would pray all the time for miracles and deeply believe that they'd read the scripture, they'd go to catechism, whatever it was, and they would read and study and try, and they got burned out for whatever reason. There's a host of reasons, right? I think that one of the reasons that's downplayed in the book, as well as in secular age in general, is sin. But I think if we read about this from the saints and we find out, you read, like, for example, Catholic Controversy, St. Francis de Sales, he talks about sin and the kind of malice inside of people's hearts that would lead them to this place. St. Alphonsus Liguori would say the same thing. And oftentimes, it's not just a casual sin. Father Lasance says the same thing. It's not just any kind of sin either. Oftentimes, it's sensual. It's the baser things. And we live in a day and age right now that is just completely overwhelmed with that sort of thing. And I don't want to be too graphic with kids. I don't know if kids tune into this stuff. But you know what I'm talking about. We're part of the Tinder era, right? We are. You know, we're part of Pornhub era. All of this stuff. It's no longer a magazine that you find all crinkled up out in the woods or something. It's something that's literally in your pocket. It's at your fingertips at any time. And people are doing it. It's to the point now where predictions that were made by my boss, I was the chief aide to a lobbyist, and his name was John Tomeke from the New Jersey League of American Families. And we would go, and 5 days a week, suit and tie briefcase guy, you know? And we'd go in the Capitol. We'd even see to be seen is what he called it. But he's a powerful dude. And sometimes he would testify in various committees. And one of the things I remember him testifying about was HPV. And saying that we were going to come to a day, this is back in 2003. He said, we're going to reach a time soon enough, maybe within the next 10 years, where HPV is going to be so common that you're going to say that more people will have HPV than not have HPV. And people will start wanting to do really intrusive things, like the little pokey poke things for that, for little kids even. People are going to die of various diseases associated with that, like cancer. He got laughed out of the room. He got laughed out of the room, including, by the way, by scientists that were there to rebut what he was saying. Oh, no, that's not coming. How dare you? How dare you talk about HPV? You think people are sick perverts? You think everybody's just going around doing the naughty, naughty bump bump with everybody? How dare you? He was right. And so, you know, we reach this place where sin is involved, right? Where there's things that person really does need to deal with. Bad reactions sometimes, maybe to hypocrisy, whatever it is. But it's my ambition, and I'm hoping that it's yours, that through this entire series, that we can say that our focus in the entire thing, from beginning to end, on every single page, that it's love. That it's love, that it's an act of reparation, in fact. For me, it most definitely is. For me. And so I have this little prayer book. I carry it with me everywhere. You can see, I mean, it's tattered. It's old. It's like, what, 1930, let me see here. Let me see what this is. It's called a Manual of Devotions. I guess they used to be really popular. Unsurprising, it's 1938. Okay? So 1938. An act of reparation to the most blessed sacrament. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. With that most profound respect, which divine faith inspires, O my God and Savior, Jesus Christ, true God and true man, I adore thee, and with my whole heart I love thee, hidden in the most august sacrament of the altar, in reparation for all the irreverences, profanations, and sacrileges that I, to my shame, may have until now committed, as also for all those that have been committed against thee, or that may be ever committed for the time to come. I offer to thee, therefore, O my God, my humble adoration, not indeed such as thou art worthy of, nor such as I owe thee, but such at least as I am capable of offering. And I wish that I could love thee with the most perfect love of which rational creatures are capable. In the meantime, I desire to adore thee now and always, not only for those Catholics who do not adore or love thee, but also to supply the defect, and for the conversion of all heretics, schismatics, libertines, atheists, blasphemers, sorcerers, Mohammedans, Jews, and idolaters. Ah, yes, my Jesus, mayest thou be known, adored, and loved by all. And may thanks be continually given to thee in the most holy and august sacrament. In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. It always stood out to me, you know, having a heart for people. And that's true from the get-go. That's true. Even when I was a Protestant, you want to know about that. I'm not going to go into stuff that I've already gone over before. If you want to see and learn more about that, there's an episode on reason and theology. In fact, it's the first and only time I've hung out and talked with Michael Lofton. And we talked about my backstory. We talked about my conversion, kind of this manic thing that happened in 1996. But from the very beginning, right out of the gate, I wanted to talk to people about Jesus. And I did not understand. I did not understand how people could hear the story or hear the arguments and that they would not accept them. It confused me. I'd stay up at night and I'd cry. I would just cry my brains out thinking, God, how is it possible that people can say, God sent his only begotten son, the whole 9 yards, and that they're not moved by that. They don't feel compelled by that. It blew my mind. I had a false idea, a rationalistic idea. In fact, the same kind of assumption that new atheists make, that you just give the proper, the true information and you download it to the brain and everyone's like, beep, boop, bop, reasonable decision-making skills. That's just not real. That's not real. We're more complex than that. And sin is at the root. Sin is running through the veins. I say a lot of times we got verms on the brain and we got enthusiasm in our veins. It's true. Antinomianism is ancient. It's a heck of a drug. This idea that you're kind of your own law, that you're your own rule, and there's something so basic about the idea that because of sin, that people, even though they know better and even though they don't have an excuse, that they shove that knowledge down, they suppress it. It's comparable to somebody in a pool. Have you ever been in a pool where you're playing with a ball or whatever, and you got a little kid walking in there, and the kid's like, "Hey, give me the volleyball," and you're like, "I don't have the volleyball," and it's like under the water and stuff. There's pressure on that ball. That ball's trying to escape from underneath the water. It's wanting to come out and burst out, and eventually people will let it go and boo, and it flies out. But it takes intention, and it takes putting pressure, this counter pressure. We're overcoming the pressure from the ball trying to come up. You have to suppress that. You have to push it down. And there's an element of that at play with sin. I think that's how Romans 1 should be understood. I think it's how it, I think that makes sense of so many people that on the one hand, they have this internal thing. They have conscience, right? They have a conscience. They understand it's written on their heart. They live and move and have their being in the world that God made, his fingerprints everywhere, including on them, living souls. They are created in the image of God. And yet, there's this weird tension between, on the one hand, knowing something to be true and exchanging it for a lie, suppressing that truth. And on the other hand, having a weird reaction that says you miss some of those things that you used to enjoy. For example, the transcendent. I remember even as an atheist, I started thinking about that. I was reading Jonathan Haidt. And Jonathan Haidt has a TED Talk. I love Jonathan Haidt, by the way. Of course, I've got my disagreements. But his book, Righteous Mind, is fantastic. It is. It's a fantastic book. His moral foundations theory is excellent, even at making predictions, predictive models. To say, look, you can see how this kind of thing plays itself out. But he has a TED Talk on transcendence, on the notion that something is bigger than you, something transcends space and time, and that there's this lack. And now I kind of wonder if he read Charles Taylor. I do. Or maybe Charles Taylor read him. Oh my gosh. That is so delicious. Oh. But this book helps to understand how it is. So he starts out, okay? James K.A. Smith. And by the way, James K.A. Smith, I said I was going to say this earlier. James K.A. Smith is professor of philosophy at Calvin College. That's right up the road from my house. So I'm hoping, so this guy's a Protestant, and he's writing a book trying to summarize a book by a Catholic philosopher. So this book here is a Catholic take on, essentially on history, on how did we get from the place where it was a default setting that people simply believed in God. How did we get from that place to a place now where you're kind of looked at with a degree of suspicion? You're seen as maybe a little bit weird. And as a believer, you actually have to try kind of hard to believe. How did we get here? This right here talks about it, but it's huge and it's really technical. I'd like to do a series on it, on just that, okay? But not yet. For now, this. He's a professor of philosophy at Calvin College, where he also holds the Biker Chair in Applied Reformed Theology and Worldview. He's the award-winning author of a number of books, including Who's Afraid of Postmodernism, Thinking in Tongues, Desiring the Kingdom, and Imagining the Kingdom, How Worship Works. And he also serves as the editor of Comment magazine. So there's going to be things in here that we don't agree with. I'll bring those up. There will be things that you can tell are tinged with his heretical beliefs. For no better choice of terms. I'm sorry, James, but you are a little bit of a heretic. so you're going to have that. But it's an excellent summary. It's an excellent summary. And so we'll wade those waters, right? We will wade those waters. And my hope is that through this process that I will eventually be able to connect with him. I would like to. He works right up the road. In fact, part of this, we'll talk about it, part of this, he wrote this book in part by going to different coffee shops around town, listening to the music, talking to the people, seeing the way that people interact, stuff like that. I bet you he was right at the coffee shop right up the road from my house. And by right up the road, I mean like around the corner, in about a block and a half. But he begins by saying this, okay? Let's go down all the way. Oh, sorry about that. So he says this. He says, "You've left your Jerusalem on a mission to Babylon. You came with what you thought were all the answers to unanswered questions these secular people had. But it didn't take long for you to realize that the questions weren't just unanswered. They were unasked. And they weren't questions. That is, your secular neighbors are not looking for answers, for some bit of information that's missing from their mental maps. To the contrary, they have completely different maps." I want to stop. Here's the thing. I've said before, and I know it's controversial. It may even be controversial here. But I think that when engaging in new evangelization in a secular age, certain arguments, while very good, are insufficient. They no longer have the power. They no longer have the force that they once did. In fact, most arguments that can be neatly tucked into a syllogism, right? I mean, it's just true. People say, well, yeah, give me your premise to conclusion. Give me your premise to conclusion. I want to hear your syllogism. Lay it out for me, and let's talk about this piece of evidence, and then move forward, and we'll talk about this one, and probability quotients, blah, blah, blah. Most people in the world don't care about that. It's why if you go and you say, but there's an unmoved mover, man, people will be like, I don't care. I don't care. That's what they're going to tell you. They're not even in that place. And in fact, the smarter ones, right, the ones who may be more well-versed in this kind of thing, they'll just say, okay, look, even if I want to believe that, it's this kind of deistic agnostic styled thing. And if you say, well, let's move on to the idea that Jesus was a real person. Most atheist people believe Jesus was a real person. Most of them do. Most people in the atheist and secular community in general hold a position that's kind of a blend between Bart Ehrman and Reza Aslan. They hold a position that says, yeah, he's a guy from the olden days. He really lived. There's enough historical evidence to indicate that he's not a myth. Okay, because you have that group of people too, the mythicists that believe Jesus is like a composite of various myths. You got some fascinating books about it and stuff. And so you have those people, but most unbelievers, they wouldn't even know if you said mythicism, they wouldn't know what it means. Maybe they heard of the movie Zeitgeist, but nothing beyond that. And Zeitgeist at this point is kind of a joke. And people are like, oh, yeah, Zeitgeist? I remember that. I remember that movie. But they're not looking for answers in the same way. And so if we go and we say, well, why is it that I can present this argument? Why is it that I can present this and say, look, but miracles are real? Or, well, Jesus was a real guy. Or we have reason to believe that the resurrection happened. Why is it that those things don't have the compelling force that they once did? It's not to say that those arguments are not valuable, but you're now dealing with an entirely different stock of people. You're dealing with an entirely different way that people are thinking. And this taps into something that I've been saying for a long time. And that is that in the life cycle of civilizations, you get to a place, right? Civilizations, these models begin with these high cultures, very interior focus. Okay, so people have interior mindsets. They're thinking internally, right, on highly religious things. You can see it reflected in the angels and the architecture. You can see the centrality of religion in the way that their cities are designed, things like that. And over time, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they get richer and richer and richer, right? In the beginning, maybe they were of all a similar race and a similar language with each other, similar religion, customs, traditions, values. And over time, they begin to get wealthier. And the idea of work begins to take over. They become more economically focused than religiously focused. And you can see that in the skylines. If you drive by, if you were to have a camera and you hopped in a TARDIS and you flew back in time in a TARDIS and you went back to, medieval Europe and you went to a skyline at night and you took a picture, you would be seeing the tallest buildings, the spires. You'd be seeing those towering cathedrals. And you could bank your bottom dollar that almost everywhere you went, if you ever saw anything like that, number one, if you saw something like that, you're looking at a community. And you can bank on the idea that that community at the center of that town would be that church, would be that symbol on the skyline. Because it was a central thing in their hearts. It was a central thing in the way that they lived and moved and had their being. But over time, they end up growing commerce, trade, begin dealing with people on the outside. Migration typically cranks itself up. Imperial ambition happens. So you start to have a more, for no better choice of terms, you have a more diverse or multicultural society. And at that point, you're no longer that same high culture. You're now kind of a civilization model. You're economic man. The first question isn't where you go to church. It is, what's your job? What do you do for a living? And those matter. It's a difference of, it's a different way of looking at it. But eventually, that once monolithic group, and not entirely, but unified, that once unified group ends up dividing, balkanizing, major time differences, money ends up going down, right? Water in the wine, dross in the gold. You end up having devaluing, inflation. You have a loss of identity, a loss of religion, technology, and even people, kind of your individuals that are pivotal in the history of those high cultures. They kind of arise around the same times. Like if you were to take each high culture through history and you were to begin going through that and say, did they have a Gandhi? Did they have a Martin Luther King Jr.? Who were the people that arose at certain times? What were their beliefs? What were the things around them? What were the techniques around them at the time? What was the emphasis? What condition was religion in? And more than that, what condition did religion think it was in? What condition was the society in? And what condition did the religious believe that their society was in? And you can see this, but it eventually falls apart. It begins to, they lose their icons. They lose those things that matter, even symbolically, because they're so divided. The things that once bound them together, they're toast. They're gone. We see this right now. For example, we see this with cancel culture. in the past, who in the comments is old enough? Who in the comments is old enough to remember back in the day, even unbelievers, even people who were not church-going folks, that if somebody did something that was scandalous, somebody did something that was bad, that was like, whoa, man, that person really did something, stepped in it, that you would still say, I hope that person gets their life together. That person needs to have a real Jesus moment. They need to find Jesus. Maybe they should start going to church. How about these phrases? That person, I understand if people don't trust him, we should forgive him, but he's got to earn that trust. Those are phrases that people would use. It was not just some people. That was kind of an unspoken standard. It's gone. We no longer have that because we don't have those shared ideas and values. Those ideas and values that were the foundation of those thoughts and words and actions, those have been dwindling and finding their way almost into these little pockets, these individual pockets or pockets of groups. And so that cement, kind of like it's breaking apart and it's getting down to the deepest parts. But everything else, there's no more of that left. So it applies to individuals. We may say that, but societally, that glue, societally, that social framework, those assumptions and presuppositions, those are gone. You end up having competing visions, and eventually it gets to the point, doesn't it, where you have ideas regarding who we are, what we are, where we are, why we are, where are we going, right? When will we get there? What is the connection between means and ends? What's the connection between ends and methods and beginnings? What's the connection between anything at all? We have debates about the cosmos. Do you believe in the cosmos? The idea of a university, an interconnected thing. Do we believe this anymore? You start to see rival positions rise up. You begin to see alternative narratives. And in that time, you see other things too. You see other things, the rise of extremes, for example. I've explained that before, that it's like a horseshoe, the horseshoe political theory that says that when let's say the extreme left rises up, you can bank your bottom dollar that if you look over on the right-hand side, you're going to find them too. Because they rise around the same time. And they're a lot closer than you may think. Right? The far extremes is not so much a straight line of the spectrum as much as it is a spectrum that follows kind of a curve of a horseshoe. And at the bottom, the far edges of that are actually closer. But you begin to see this. But those views are so different. Those views on, did God make us? Why did he make us? Do we have a soul? Is there any kind of uniform code, objective and universal, that we are bound to? No matter our race, no matter our age, no matter anything, that we are bound to this universal code. Does that exist? Where are we going? What's the purpose of all of this? Do we have a reason? Do we have a reason? Or are we just kind of that little blue dot in the middle of nowhere? And the reason that we do have is reason that we have found and attributed to ourselves. Is that what it is? Is life, does it begin at conception? Is life even valuable after a baby leaves the womb? Is it murder to help with assisted suicide? What is a person? What? Why? Who, what, where, when, why, how? These questions are so different that as the civilization is falling apart and as it's dividing up into all these different sectors and segments, these sects, as it's happening and there's a clash going on, allegiances and alliances are forming. And of those, you have an upshoot of the alternative narrative, that one is coming down and another one's coming up, and that's a hot flashpoint. That is hot. It can get violent. Where these two things collide, where they clash. I believe that we are there right now. In fact, I believe that we've been there for a while. But that plays into who are we dealing with when we're talking to individuals about God? You realize that instead of nagging questions about God or the afterlife, your neighbors are oriented by all sorts of longings and projects and quests for significance. There doesn't seem to be anything missing from their lives. Right? They would say, oh, no, we're good. We're good. I got everything I need. I got a job. I got a house. I'm all good. I got kids. I got a car. I've got a TV. All of the things that glitter and glow, everything. And they say, what do I need? What do I need? There doesn't seem to be anything missing. So you just can't come proclaiming the good news of Jesus who fills their God-shaped hole. Now, I disagree with this. Because I think that it's not, I look at it and I say, I think that it's easy for people, number one, to not recognize, in fact, what they're longing for, that their hearts cannot rest until they rest in God. That's number one. But also, I think that self-deception is a real thing. I think people are terribly, terribly self-deceived. It's a powerful, powerful thing. And sometimes it's a matter of showing people. And people say, well, you're self-deceived about God? People are self-deceived all the time about tons of stuff, and you know it. You know it. We tell people that all the time, that think that, maybe they think that they're the nicest people on the planet. And they're like, oh, no, man, I was just, how many of you know somebody who's constantly ragging on individuals, constantly biting and snipping and everything else, and yet acts as if they've never done anything wrong? And you're like, oh, dang, son. Hey, I don't mean to be rude. You are kind of, you're begging for it, dude. You're begging for it, man. But that person could swear up and down, no. And they'll have a reason for everything in the world. Self-deception is a serious thing, especially on matters that mean the most. Like God, right? Let's see. They don't have any sense of that the secular lives they've constructed are missing a second floor. In many ways, they've constructed webs of meaning that provide almost all the significance they need in their lives, though a lot hinges on that almost. I can tell you that that's totally true. It's easy in today's climate. It's easy to find ways in order to satisfy what you think, or to do what you believe is satisfying various needs that you have. I tried doing that, recognizing with our family that we were a family in the atheist community. That's not actually that common. It's not. Right? They have a whole host of reasons for why they don't have kids. They contracept their kids out of existence. They go to school and say, I want to establish a career. I want to travel around, and I want to do this and that before I end up getting married or having kids. And they have that whole, Sex in the City syndrome. The one that the creator of that laments, in fact. Recognizes now, being much older and seeing all of her friends who did get married and did have children, that now they're old. They're all grandmas now, and they have grandkids coming over, and she's sitting there lonely. But at least she's got her heels. But I knew that I had to figure out some way, right? So I said, well, my kids, they want to have a group. Maybe there's something we can do. It's like a group that people can go to. That's why groups like Sunday Assembly arise. We used to go to one. In fact, I was the first speaker to speak at the one in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was in the newspaper and everything. I was the first person there. I was the first one to be asked. Packed out. The place was so packed out they couldn't bring any more people in. They had to turn them away. So I did that. That's because those people longed for something that they found missing when they detached themselves from the transcendent, or when they believed that they did, institutions that were wrapped up in the transcendent. They still had those longings. In fact, the themes of what I did is I said we have to have some kind of an analog, some kind of a way to deal with certain key parts in life. Giving birth to children, raising children, becoming an adult, getting married, and dying. And everybody's like, man, dang, they felt it. The people felt that. They understood that intuitively because something was missing from that frame of life, that idea of the world that says everything is right now. It seems that many have managed to construct a world of significance that isn't at all bothered by questions of the divine. Though that world might still be haunted in some ways, haunted by that almost, okay, well, really? Where did I? Oh, no. Okay. Oh, was it at the bottom? Maybe I just cut off. Maybe there was nothing more I wanted to talk about on that. Okay. So it's haunted. Right? There's these things that come after, and I like how James Smith, I like how he talks about music, and you can hear this thing coming out through various kinds of music. We'll talk about that, right? There's a certain style, in fact, that you can really hear it come out in. What Charles Taylor calls an eminent frame. I've used that phrase a couple times. These people are no longer bothered by the God question as a question, because they are devotees of exclusive humanism. It's a way of being in the world that offers significance without transcendence. So they're trying. They say, well, I'm part of a club. And they really reduce down certain things, certain elements like church. It turns into, well, it's just a social club. So then if that's all it is, it's just a social club, it's just a religious-y one. Or the popular refrain from new atheists is that, it's just collecting stamps. These people, they're just out there collecting stamps. Well, if that's the case, then I just need to be a stamp collector. So that's what they think. They think they just need to be a stamp collector. And that it will accomplish the same thing. They do have need for the hypothesis. They don't like to admit that. And to some degree, they might even buy into their own baloney. But the truth is, they do. So what does it look like to bear witness in a secular age? And look, I'm interested in what you've got to say about this. And if you want to connect with me about any of this stuff, make sure go over to the Wolfpack chat. You got to do it. Go over to the Wolfpack chat on Telegram. And if anybody's in that comment, Haley, you're a mod, so I know you can do it. I know you are. Yeah, and I guess some man 7 was asking about my conversion, or I don't know. But yeah, it's on Meaning of Catholic. You can see I was interviewed by Timothy Gordon about it, and you don't even have to go to any of those places today. Go to the conversation that I had. Was it about a month ago now? With Michael Lofton right here. I think it's called Terror, Tragedy, and Triumph with Jeremiah Bannister. Terror, Tragedy, and Triumph. You can find out more about that story. But what does it look like? What does it look like, in fact, to be faithful? This is why the idea of traditionalism, even that idea is hotly debated. What does it mean, in fact, to be traditional? What is tradition in a secular age? What is the bare minimum to qualify you as a traditional person? To what extent have Christians unwittingly absorbed the tendencies of this world? This is massive, by the way. This is a striking thing. That sentence right there, to highlight it. To what extent have Christians unwittingly absorbed the tendencies of this world? We'll talk about what life was like before and how people had a more porous idea of reality. That if you were sick, you wouldn't immediately think of the doctor. In fact, you might wonder about hexes You might wonder about sin. You might say, I need the holy water. I need to go to communion. I need to go to confession. You would be thinking in terms of a more holistic, living soul idea of a world that involves an interplay where you've got guardian angels about. You're dealing with principalities. You're dealing with all sorts of stuff all around you. You're going to a mass where the cloud of witnesses, the communion of saints, is all around you. It's mixed in, blended together, mingled and such. And you are taking part in something that's 2,000 years old, as it is now. That's a different world. Nowadays, people get a headache. If you had to write down a list of things that says, like, well, this is what might cause it, how far down that list would sin be? And things that should help it, how far down that list would maybe confession be, the Eucharist be, prayer? How far down that list? Be quite frank, be honest. That's just one example. We could go through a bazillion of these things, even down to the way that we wake up, even down to the way that we go to sleep, the way that modernity, the way that things that create an environment that has done nothing but fuel, in fact, the secular age, the way that that's affected us, even mediums themselves being messages themselves. I mean, so we're going to talk about this, but how, to what extent? And ask yourself, because I've had to ask myself this. This raises the question of how to reach people. How do we reach them? On the other hand, the question bounces back on the church. To what extent do we believe like exclusive humanists? I think that's a big deal. I think it's more than we think. I think that we have allowed ourselves, you can see it. You can see it in the way that so many people treat the hierarchy of the church. For example, go back and read the encyclical on Christian citizenship by Leo XIII. Go and read that and tell me, is that something that when you think of how you talk about bishops or how you talk about priests or how you talk about the Pope or how you talk about leaders of the state, is that how you do it? Or is that kind of a foreign thing? Is that almost like advice from a totally different world that maybe that Pope, he wouldn't understand? I talked about it recently on a video, and somebody in the comments, well, but Pope Francis. oh, but Pope Francis, okay, I hear you. If only the Pope would have known. The Pope was taken off guard. He had no clue. It's kind of like how so many people treat Pope St. Pius X with his encyclical on restoring all the restoration of all things in Christ the King. They're like, poor sucker. He thought he had a real finger on the pulse of the future, but it wasn't long after that we were given the doomer gloomer revelation that the world was about to end because of Fatima. And the automatic idea is discontinuity. Automatically, boom. Well, it's just a waste. You win some, you lose some, even as a saint. Baloney, man. That's baloney. Or the idea that how has the secular age, how has the exclusive humanism, how has that affected us when we talk about the indefectibility of the church and we're looking around at purely naturalistic things? Saying, oh, look at the people. Look at all the sickos. Look at all the people tweeting out nonsense. And that's what we say. As if it's sufficient. As if that's like, well, that doctrine held for a really long time, but, they just didn't know what was coming. Thank God for you, buddy. Mr. Rando Annan, click-clacktivist on Twitter, tweeting out everything every day, trying to change lives left and right with your anonymous account. It's written for people like us, and it was believed like people, by people, who were less like us than what we like to think. Let's say. Oh. Yeah, you said maybe this doesn't describe you. I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe in the circles that people run in, maybe the question about God just simply never comes up. You know, it did for me, and it did for my world. It was easy for me to find my way as an atheist. It was easy to find my way into secular activism, the secular movement, the atheist movement and community. It was an easy thing. It was an uncomfortable thing. I did not get along very well all the time, especially with people who were leaders. I always was kind of bothered by this. Yeah, I didn't share the same moral foundations as a lot of them. I didn't belong there, and neither do they. But I could understand easier why certain moral foundations found their way more easily over there. If you don't have anything that says hierarchy or honor or loyalty, if that's not, or authority, if those are not moral foundations in your world, well, I can understand. But then it's a curious thing because they have to fill the void too. They have to fill the void of that. They become leaders of the movement, and they put that bugger on lockdown. You come against them, all of a sudden, man, you are going to feel the fury. You're going to feel it. But maybe you're unconcerned with God. Maybe issues about spirituality or prayer, maybe they just never come up. Maybe you're talking about movies and music or, Marvel, comics and stuff. Work. Exercising. Why you're a fat slob that needs to go on some diet or something. You're sick and tired of being, a bedridden fatty. And you're like, I remember the day when I wasn't so bedridden I could get through that door. You remember. It was before World of Warcraft. That's what it was. But we're all trying to find significance. Maybe that's what you're saying. We're trying to find significance. We're trying to make meaning. We're trying to figure out what the heck this is all about. But come on, man. That doesn't mean we're going to entertain fairy tales. Have you heard that? We're not going to entertain fairy tales. I don't mean to be rude about it. And I wouldn't be rude with people to their face. And I really should do better about that. I should. However, I think that we need to be, I think we need to level with people. Even, and maybe they can say, well, you're being a little bit petty. You know what they're saying? They don't even get the genre. They don't even get the proper literary classification. They don't even understand. They're talking, for no better choice of terms, they're kind of talking out of the backside. They're putting a trumpet back there and bending over and letting the world know. That's what's happening. And we need to be able to love with people who do that and say, bro, I don't mean to sound really terrible, but you're not nearly as special or unique or as intelligent as you may think. And neither am I. This leveling that's gone on, this equalitarianism that's gone on, this access to technology has given us this crazy idea that somehow we're like way smarter than all the ancients because you know what? I know how to play on an iPhone. That's impressive, bro. Wow. That's impressive. So the person back in the day was waking up and building huge cities. Gardening and planting things with their hand. Could look out and see groves with trees and all different sorts of stuff. But you're able to sit there on a couch and you're able to push buttons on a glowing screen. That's fantastic. I'm really impressed. You push buttons on a controller. You stare at fake worlds and get so wrapped up in them that it consumes you. You wake up when you should be, hours after you should be awake. You go to bed so late. So many do this that Netflix, I believe it was Netflix. Netflix puts together this internal review to say, hey, we need to figure out here, folks. We need to figure out who's our number one competitor. We need to find out because we're going to take that competitor down. And what happens, right? The bow tie guys, they come in. Well, sir, we figured it out. Yeah, you were actually winning. You won't believe it. And he's like, what are you talking about? Well, the number one competitor is sleep. Are you serious? Yeah. And we're winning? Yeah, boys. Yeah, we're beating sleep. That came out. Their number one competitor was sleep, and they are winning. But, yeah, you're much smarter. Much smarter. I got it. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But so many people are over it. So many people are over it. They're saying, let's move on. And that's actually something that's happening. It's been going on for years in the atheist community. There are people. There's a fancy pant millionaire guy who, is always talking about how we need to have more unions and stuff. But when people try to unionize, he shuts the doors and everything. And how it's not right to not pay people, and people should have shares in the business and only work for a certain number of days. And we need to set this by law. But he doesn't do it himself. But he's a major donor in the area. It's kind of a joke. But he was really insistent in town. He was very insistent that we just simply move on, that it's over. The debate about God is over. And we need to begin building up a world that has no reference to God whatsoever. It's practical atheism. And the thing is, sadly, part of him was right. Not that they should, but that they could. Now, he's a loon bird. That dude is a quackerdoodle. That guy is out of his mind. Out of his mind. It's, last thing I'll say about this guy. I have to. So he's running for office, right? And he's running for office because he's Mr. Moneybags and stuff. So he's running for office of the Democratic Party, and it's around the time of Me Too, okay? So he's out there and he's like, yeah, we need to. I'm gonna start this party, this liberal leftist party that is really focused on the women. And I thought it was it a cougar? was that the symbol? He said maybe a lioness, but it looked like a cougar to me. And I'm like, bro, your symbol is like a little bit. And so he ends up having this commercial where he's talking to these ladies. He's this old white dude with super dupe white hair, super rich and stuff, and he's pointing these girls. He had them sit on a bench, and they're like looking up at him with their hands like on their knees, and he's talking and he's pointing at them like this. And I said, man, whoever did this commercial, either they were trying to sabotage that cat or they were obeying him, and he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's like not realizing how it's like, and I believe in treating women right. And he's pointing down as they're looking up, accepting all of his wisdom. Accepting all of it. Oh, man. And by the way, if people want, just as a reminder, if you want to ask me a question, I'll go through them later, but I'm going to have a whole bunch in here. You guys are awesome, by the way. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Make sure to do that. Okay, but if you want me to address something, make sure to put that in a highlight, but tag me in it, right? Or put reason and theology, doesn't matter. Either way. No, speaking of that, click-clacktivists, I'm going to use that. Do it, dude. They're click-clactivating. They're click-clactivated 24/7, son. It's true. It's true. So he says that, we're just trying to figure this thing out, but we're not going to believe in fairy tales. That's why you're constantly puzzled by all these super religious folks who can't imagine that God doesn't exist. And you have a feeling that they inhabit some other world. And he says, he talks about how, he gives an example of somebody, and I loved it too, that he said, you're invited by a friend who used to be secular, but is kind of, maybe she read something, and now she's kind of like dipping the toe right back into the religious waters. And she says, okay, I'm gonna go to Christmas Eve, Christmas vigil. I'm gonna go to mass. And I like that because that was something that I did all the time. That even just reading that kind of stuck out to me. As I said, even as an atheist, even as an unbeliever, that's what I was doing. It's good to see you, Mikey Joe. Bummer you got to go, man, but this is on record, so you're going to be able to watch this later. Man, by the way, Jersey 1683, the Tridentine Brewing Company, is awesome? It is awesome, and I still don't have the IV. My wife has not come in here. I'm waiting, baby. I'm waiting. I'm going to keep this arm up like this for as long as it takes. Oh, man, you're going to see my wife in here, you know, taking some string and wrapping. I'm like, that's right, baby. We're pouring it into a funnel. All right. So, yeah, tag me in it, because if you put at Paleocrat, if you put that in there, or at Reason and Theology, if you do either one of those things, okay, if you do either one of those, I'll see the highlight. I'll see myself, and I'll also see where someone has tagged Reason and Theology. And by the way, again, man, I'm really grateful, Michael. I'm really, really grateful, buddy. And I hope you're having a fun time, dude. But he says, you know, you tell the people, you say, no, I'm not going to. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm so sorry. My wife left. Ugh. Why didn't you tell me? Ugh. Why didn't she tell me? Why didn't she send the minions? I've got other staff, man. I've got a whole bunch. We just hired, what, 2 people? I mean, maybe we didn't hire them. Maybe she gave birth to them. But they've been here a couple years already. Yeah, they're like, you know, 1 on 2.5 and stuff. But they're here. You could have sent them in. Oh, she's in the comments section. I'm yelling out the window right now. I know she can hear me. I know it. You were supposed to hook me up with the IV for the beer. Oh, she let me down. That's okay. I love her. She's my mega hot half Korean beauty queen wife. Yep, definitely in love with her. Totally hooked up fat, not gonna lie. Yep. So he says, though, that you ignore your friend and say, I don't want to go to Christmas Eve. Right? You have these people, and they say, I'm going to stay at home. And they're just at home kind of being bored and stuff. But then they turn on one of those unbelievably ambiguous and nostalgic songs by the Postal Service. Right? It's one of those songs with the sprite, light tune that lulls you into thinking it's just banal triviality. But then somehow you hear it again as if for the first time. And all of a sudden you feel yourself in the song. I think that this sort of thing probably resonated with a lot of people who may have been unbelievers who read this. I think, and this is one of those things, in fact, that I understand the logic. You know, I have a disagreement with Tim Flanders, for example, on music. He's kind of a classical chant and folk, certain folk kind of guy. He's kind of into that world. I have a much more diverse palette, right? So I have all different styles of music. Because one of the many things that me and Mr. Lofton have in common is that we like different styles of music. Not just that. And what I found is that music, whether we like it or not, whether we think it's right or wrong, music is one of those things that's really, it's becoming like a universal language of this new mindset. Where you can get a feel for generations of people by hearing those sounds, by hearing the words that come out of them, by seeing the way that people react to this. And I think it's also one of the reasons why it's so powerful. It's so powerful to people. Like music to me, when I was coming back into the church, that was one of the things. It was between 2 things, right? At least the environment, not what I was just, reading and stuff like that. But in my immediate environment, one of those things was silence. Spending a lot of time in silence. I'd walk outside with my dog, or I'd be downstairs working on things. No sounds, no nothing. Or I was listening to music, and music that typically fell along these lines. Kind of a, melancholic almost. Nostalgic. Derek Webb. David Bazan. Those kind of things. Death Cab for Cutie, right? Of course, Postal Service. It said, and I'm looking through the glass where the light bends at the cracks. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, pretending the echoes belong to someone I used to know. And you're spooked. You're spooked by the longings this articulates, naming something that wells up in you from some subterranean cavern in your consciousness, and you feel stupid. You feel stupid that you're crying, but you can't stop. And you want to just blame it on the bourbon and the loneliness. And yet there is this oddest taste of some distant joy calling to you in those tears, and you're not sure what to do with any of it. That, if that's true of you, if that's true of people you know, then this book here is for you. And it's true. Because it's ultimately an adventure in self-understanding. And I'm grateful for this too. To say, look, I'm grateful to say about self-understanding because it's one of those things that as the Canine Brigade, the book club that we have for the Wolfpack chat, the Canine Brigade, as we're going through Interior Castle, as we're going through that, okay, one of those things that's so important in all of that is the idea of self-awareness, self-knowledge. And I think that this is a good accompaniment in a way that says not for prayer. Well, yeah, it's to say this is where you are on the map. That book back there, that book by the great saint, doctor of the church, that book is to help you to get your way around. To know who you are, to get into that interior place where you're pursuing God. You're hunting down him who's hunted you. But you're understanding where you are. You're understanding the forest out there. And saying, look, this is what I've been equipped with. I may not have even known this. It's a better understanding of ourselves. Somebody said, I can't tell you how many times I listened to Spoon Man in the last week. Yeah. I dig that song, by the way, Zayna. I'm a Soundgarden guy. I'm a 90s kid. Let's see. Right here. I'm trying to distill and highlight this aspect of his argument precisely because I think it matters. And it matters especially for those believers who are trying to not only remain faithful in a secular age, but also to bear witness to the divine for a secular age. Secular age is an insightful and incisive account of our globalized, cosmopolitan, pluralist present. Because we have a cross-pressured situation, suspended between the malaise of an immanence and the memory of transcendence. Names and explains vague rumblings in the background of our experience for which we lack words. It's something that so many modern people feel. And not just unbelievers, not just those who are separated from the church. This is something that people inside the church are feeling. They're feeling this kind of memory of something grand. It's like nostalgia is hitting people when they're younger now. It's not something reserved for folks who are in their twilight years. It's something for everybody. The way that they felt when they were growing up. Trying to recapture something. And I think so many people in trying to deal with the secular age that are fully aware, right? They understand it. And they hate what's happened, not only to the church, but to them, to their friends, to their family that they've seen walk away. And if you have family members who walked away, please let us know. We have the prayer group. We raise those people up every day. We are praying for those people whose names are listed. Make sure to do that. But the thing is that there's this kind of nostalgia that says, man, I want to recapture that. I want to go back. I want to grab that. I want to bring this forward. And they need to learn a lesson. They need to learn a lesson of what happens if you try. If any of you ever done this, if any of you ever tried to go to a house that you grew up in and maybe you talked to the person and that was there, or maybe it was up for sale and you decide, hey, I grew up in that home, and you wanted to go in there and maybe show somebody, your husband, your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, doesn't matter, your friend, say, dude, hey, let's go in this thing, man. Let's see this. Oh yeah, I used to do this down here or this over here. But then when you walk in, you find that it's totally different. It's painted different. Maybe a wall was taken out. The doors and the frames, the woodwork, all of the design, things have changed in there, and there's no going back. And even if you were to go and take it and say, look, I'm going to get rid of all that stuff. I'm going to get rid of all that stuff. I'm going to come right back, and I'm going to fix it all up exactly like it was. I've got pictures. I can make it look the same. I can play music the same. I can do all that stuff. And you know what you're going to be? You're going to be a person who years later did all of that stuff, but you're not the person you were back then. And that house is not the same. Things have happened. You will not feel that way. You could get the gang together to go and say, look, let's get the gang together to go play some hoops. I'm down with that. I'm white chocolate. You should see my mad skills. I ain't even lying. You should see it. Yeah. As long as I haven't thrown out my back. If I throw out my back, or my knee, my back or my knee, or my ankles, or my tennis elbow. I've got all sorts of issues. I go in there looking like, some kind of robot. I'm in there looking like Terminator, RoboCop, with all the gear. I'm like, I'm ready, boys. I'm ready to play. But if I said, hey, guys, I want to get together the team. I want to get together all the folks. And I want to get a game together of all the basketball players. It's going to be like it was in high school, man. And let's say that I was really, really serious about this. And I got some guys together and said, all right, man, we're going to do it, man. We're going to go ahead. We're going to create a team. And we're going to try to play other teams that we were against. Because I went to this small Christian school. We're going to play Howardsville, dude. We're going to play Howardsville. That's what we're going to do. We're going to crush those people. We're going to play, what is it, Cook Prairie? Was that what it's called? Was it Cook Prairie? Factoryville? There was a bunch of villes, man. We're going to play Factoryville. We're going to crush them. I'm going to find out that guy. Let's even say that we get all those people. Let's say that the schools, everything's the same. We're going to go out there. We're going to play. We're going to play the music the way it was. Let's say we get the cheerleaders we used to have. And let's say we're all doing decent for ourselves, right? Let's say we're not looking totally fugly. Like we didn't, fall down the ugly tree and get whacked by every branch on the way down. Or slugged in the face with the ugly stick repeatedly. You're like, oh, why? Why me? But let's say that you got everybody, you got the whole gang there. When you hear and you're like, yeah, man, it's the fourth quarter. It's getting close. And you look over and your coach is like 80 now. And he's like, "Rrr!" And he's got his air on his face. Come on now, get over there. Go play the defense. Rrr. He's doing that and you're like, dang, coach is getting a little bit older. And you're tired by the midpoint of the first quarter. You're tired. You're like, oh man, guys, I don't know about this. Your buddy's asking for beer and you're hearing doo doo ch. And you're hearing that noise, and you realize in that moment that with all of those things the way they are, you just can't recapture what it felt like when you were a senior in the same place with the same sounds and the same people. That is what we're talking about. That's what we're saying. You can try. And it's good to do this. You need to be able to grab those things to move forward, those permanent things. That's why I like that traditional people are debating each other. Take the gloves off, boys. Take the gloves off. I like that Timothy Gordon debated Tim Flanders. I'm glad. I'm glad that Michael Lofton plays fast and loose sometimes. He gets tough. He gets online. He's not doing tiddlywinks. He ain't playing no footsies. That's not how it is. You need to be able to do this. You need to be able to debate these things out because we need to say these are the permanent things that we're taking along with us. These are the things that will define what tradition is for future generations. This is what this is. Because ultimately, people are caught between the cross pressure. Imagine two icebergs coming together. And you're suspended between this. You're suspended between this malaise, right? You're the malaise of the eminence. All right, and I've had people ask me this before. Let me see here. It's a general feeling of discomfort, illness, or uneasiness whose exact cause is difficult to identify. So you're caught between that and the memory of the transcendent, the memories that are associated, even if not just with the transcendent, like you had some experience, but you had some kind of experience with a world of various institutions, various groups, various worldviews that gave you a social imaginary that made sense of these things, that maybe you looked at your experiences in your life and you said, look, this makes sense to me. It makes sense to me when people said, that Jesus was in my heart, or that I need to ask God to send the Holy Ghost, or that I need to do whatever, that I go up and take communion, and that what I'm taking is actually the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. That when the priest leans over and confects the sacrament, that's no longer just bread, it's no longer just wine. My social imaginary, the world I was in, it made perfect sense of this. And I understood it. To the best of my knowledge, it was functional. It was a functional theism. Even if you were someone like me who thought that the book of Acts was spelled like a battle axe, and maybe it was about, the times of, Robin Hood men in tights or something. Which is a true story. I was bad in school. I was a smart guy, but I didn't care. I passed because I did some great extra credit homework and a lot of stuff with art and all that. But the thing is it made sense to people because they're in that world. And it's why when I came back to the church, why I think it was the wisest thing in the world for my confessor, when I finally went back to confession, that he told me after absolving me and after giving me penance, said, I want to add something, not as penance, just as an admonition, as an advisement and an encouragement. And I'm thinking maybe like a novena. Like, okay, am I going to, do a novena or something? Am I going to wear a scapular? Like, what do you want me to do? Take a year away completely from everything that you've done before. No social media, no articles, because that was my life. He knew that my income allowed it. He knew that. And he knew I could withstand a year. He knew it, that it would not harm my family, because he knew my family. He loved my family. He's the only priest who came and prayed for my daughter when she was dying. And I didn't ask him. And he knew I wasn't going to be happy when he rolled in. But he did it. My daughter was happy, though, because he called her Fire Toes. And she remembered. But the thing is, he told me, he said, no social media. Get off all the way. No articles. Don't write a single one. No Twitter, no Facebook, no Instagram, no YouTube, no podcasts, no videos, no nothing. No speeches, no debates, no dialogues, no nothing. Instead, read the Bible every day. Read the saints every day. Pray every day. Go to Mass as often as you can and frequent the sacraments as often as you can. I took that deadly serious. I went 16 months. I did. I went 16 months, and the only way that I finally broke it is that I made a video for the place where my kids go to school. We decided to take them out and to send them to Sacred Heart Academy. That's where, every bit of money that I make, we're doing good. We're doing pretty good. But every bit that I'm making, I've said, I'm going to make up the deficit that was incurred. Because it was a deficit. It's not cheap. Saying, look, this is a classical education school at Fancy Pants, super rigid, right? They're learning chant. They're learning how to be even conversant in Latin, to interpret classical documents by the time they are seniors. In fact, if I remember correctly, in the whole universe of classical learning and stuff like that, like the CLT and all that, that they do national awards for schools who participate in this, and we are the most highly awarded school in the nation. At least we were, I think, 2 years ago, for a couple years, in fact, that we were the most highly awarded school in the nation. So and they focus on virtue. It's not just making sure that you're clean. It's not just making sure that you got your fancy suit on, your little gold buttons and a crest. It's not just making sure that you've read your mythology. It's not just making sure that you've done your reading, writing, and arithmetic. No. We said it needs to be something that is the culture wherein they reside. Because I knew what was upon me, and I knew that if I was doing that, and I went to mass like 330 times that year, more than that. I went almost. It was like 6 days a week. More than that. It was more than 6 days a week on average. For over a year, for 16 months. And the only way I finally broke it was somebody asked me, they said, hey, would you make a video promoting the school to do a fundraiser? We know about your story and about your kids and stuff. That video is available. You can see it. It's the first one that I made in a very long time. And that video is about atheist family converts to Catholicism after daughter's life and death with childhood brain cancer, something like that. You can find that on my website. In fact, if somebody can find the link right now and over at youtube.com/Paleocrat, there's a Team Tiny Answer playlist. Any videos, look at most popular, whatever. You'll see it in that list. But that's it. But I knew that I had to surround myself. He was right. I had to enter that place. And I'm grateful that we have a parish and a priests plural, that say, we want to create a culture. We want even the visuals, right? We want the altar. We want the incense. We want the sounds. We want the things that are all around, but we also want the things, more importantly, that reach to the heart and the soul. We want to have spiritual directors. Like on the call, like you say, look, I need a spiritual director. We got you covered, son. We want to have confession opened up every single Sunday during Mass to make sure that nobody's left behind. We want to make sure that we have sisters. We have the Sisters of Divine Mercy at our church, traditionally vested, looking awesome. Looking awesome, working with the kids in the school. The kids are seeing that. It's part of how they are growing up, because I knew that priest was right. He wasn't just right about that, he was right about enthusiasm. Well, he's the one who gave me the book. I'd take a bullet for him. We have our disagreements. We don't agree on political economy all the time. But I respect him like crazy. In fact, I love him. And this is how, in talking about not just the situation we found ourselves in, but how do we get out? How do we get out? I'll go to the comments here in just a moment. I'm glad to see that people are using the orange there to tag me. I'll make sure. I told you I would. So I'll spend the last 10 minutes just going through some of those, and we'll see how it goes. He's hoping that this will be a resource for social scientists, theologians, philosophers, religious studies scholars grappling with the issues of secularization and religion in our contemporary world. I hope so too. He's talking about secular age this year. But in fact, his primary concern, James K.A. Smith, is existential. And so is mine. I am a prodigal who walked a long ways away. I wasn't just shoving my face in the trough. I was shoving my children's faces in the trough. I was demanding that they eat. I allowed secularism to completely drown me. I spat on God. I blasphemed. My priest, people knew. I remember I go to church to confession for the first time in a long time. You know, it was the same time where I got the advisement. I'm downstairs and I'm trying really hard not to have anybody see me. I don't want to be seen. And I'm downstairs. I'm in a place, I don't know anybody. But I'm downstairs in the social hall, and church is about to begin. So I want to go upstairs and get in that line and be first in that line because I knew it was going to be a while. And maybe that was the wrong time to do that. And so to sit there and to walk toward that door and have somebody all of a sudden out of nowhere say, Jeremiah Bannister? And to turn around and look and realize, like, I'm hosed, man. I'm hosed. I turn around, I don't even recognize the guy. But he recognized me. And he asked me, he said, what are you doing here, man? I said, I'm going to confession. I started crying. And he said, Jeremiah, he said, I know. He ran to the door and he opened the door. And he said, sir, he said, I'm not going to stop you. He's like, I've heard you on the radio. I know what you've said. Sometimes I think, I get criticized sometimes. People talk to me and they say, oh, you're just telling stories, or, oh, you're saying, you've done this or you've done that. It's not with a sense of pride, but it's because I think that he's right in this. I think that he's right in this, that there are a lot of people. Let me see if it's coming up here. No. Come on. He talks about Grand Rapids, Michigan. So yeah. We'll go ahead and do cross pressure. Right here. He says there's various fundamentalisms that seem intent on selling us maps of buried treasure, pulling out yellowed parchments and trying to convince us that these dated maps tell us the truth about ourselves, about our present. But their maps are just as flat. And we feel like they're hiding something. We feel like there are whole regions of our experience hiding something. We feel like there are whole regions of our experience that they've never set foot upon. As if they claim to have mapped out Manhattan because they visited Madison Square Garden. Who's going to buy that map? I don't entirely agree with this. I think that's something a Protestant would say. They don't have the luxury of believing that we have a church that is infallible, that's being led into all truth, that is led, and that is leading us, and that we can completely trust, and that for a very, very, very long time has had a finger on the pulse of the anatomy of sin, the anatomy of apostasy, the blueprint for righteousness, that path to perfection. And by the way, I'm not reading Secular Age by Charles Taylor. I am reading that, but I'm not. That's not what the series is going to be about. The series is a summation of it, because Secular Age is this. Okay, gigantic, super duper duper gigantic. What? This one, on the other hand, more concise, not so scholarly. It's written by a scholar, right? One that lives not far from my house, actually, and I am going to try to connect to them. I'm hoping maybe that he even sees, the tweet talking about the book and stuff. We'll see. But I'm talking about that book is called How Not to Be Secular, reading Charles Taylor. Let's see if we can get it up there. How Not to Be Secular. And so we do have that map. He is wrong. But just because the church has that map doesn't necessarily mean that when we come to the person, that they don't have a just reason to think that we're peddling some stuff that's not right. They're going to be like, well, I know Jeremiah. I know Jose. I know about you, Jose. I know about Jeremiah. I know about Stephanie. Okay? And so we need to be able to present this kind of a thing that recognizes that we've been in the wilderness. And I think it's one of the reasons why if we come to somebody and we approach them thinking like, well, here are some apologetic arguments that I've been told are really successful, that we have kind of this magical notion, in fact, of how that works. Almost like it's the code on Contra, right? Up, down, left, right, BA, start. For the 30 guys, you're like, I put in the code. I did the arguments in the way that I read them. I went to a .com or I read an old book. And it taught me how. And now I'm using that argument. And for some reason, they just ain't buying it. Because sometimes those people, that's just not the way they think. Sometimes they're way more practical than that. Sometimes their ideas about it are like way more lowbrow than you think. And sometimes it's just rooted in sin. Sometimes it's rooted in a sin that resulted from something that is a legit pain, something that is a legit scandal, something that says, look, I was scandalized by this. I felt lied to about that. I felt betrayed. This person, these hypocrites, these liars, I saw it for myself. I felt so alone. Those are legitimate things, but they can take it too far. We learned that in Enthusiasm. We learned that in that 20-part series. We learned it. And it's true here. And so we're going to go through this. We are going to go through this. And I don't know how long it's going to take. But I hope you're along for the ride. And I hope you had a fun time. I do. We're going to go through, well, I'm seeing a bunch of orange squares. There's a lot of orange squares. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to, oh, so somebody put a bunch of, Nicholas put a whole bunch of wolves and then he's got a tiger. What's the tiger all about? What's the, okay, hold on. I need to put the screen up. Hold on. Boom. There we go. Sorry about that. I got to finish this beer. And by the way, there's been a couple times where I'm like, man, I'm going to have a little burps here. I'm going to have a little burpy worps. And the thing is, in the video that Lofton shared today on the channel, though it's only a minute long, and it's funny, we added a bunch of different sound effects, different slurping sounds, the boink boink sound where my wife's hitting me on the head with the straw. It happened during a live show. So it's like, it's based on a true story. It really happened. We put music with it and clap track and stuff. You know, we normally have a live action, a live studio audience here, and they laugh at all my jokes and stuff. No, we don't. I'm lying. We don't have that. We need it though, because I'm tired of laughing at all my own jokes, But it's true, a little bit, But it's a lot of fun, and there's a burp in there that even people who saw it, like Hallelujah in the comments, she saw that episode live, and she still thought that burp was real. She's like, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize you burped. That's really funny. I'm like, no, I didn't. That didn't really happen. That was fake, man. That was totally fake. But we did a good job, though, didn't we? Oh, yes, we did. Yeah, Jacob Fowler, I'm not going to... Okay, I'm going to give it like 5 seconds here. Let's find out. Where's Jacob Fowler? Wolf symbol. Hello, sir. Just wait. It gets better. Oh, yeah, okay. Talking to Kurt. I don't know who he is, but I like him. I'm glad, Kurt. I'm glad you dig me, bud. There's a guy named Michael Wolf. Your last name is Wolf? Ow! Happy for you, dude. Happy for you. Who had 11 to 11:05 in the pool? Big payout. Dude, no! Dude, I fell for that nonsense. Yesterday, you ruined my life. You ruined my life yesterday, Jake Fowler. In the Wolfpack chat on Telegram. In the Wolfpack chat, okay? We're sitting there, everybody's talking. They're like, oh, dude, yeah, he's going to be up tomorrow morning. He's supposed Jeremiah's going to be debating Kennedy Hall on Meaning of Catholics, Terror of Demons at 5 in the morning. He's got to wake up before. And they're like, why are you doing that, man? Why are you waking up before? I said, I don't know. I think something Kennedy said. I said, I've never read it. And I intentionally avoided reading that because I don't want to feel like compelled to do it. I can use that as an excuse and go, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be waking up an hour early. I didn't know. And he's like, I'm seeing all these posts of people sharing the Jer Bears. It's like the Care Bear stare with the rainbowy things and stuff. Talking about how my prayers at night and my readings at night are helping put kids to sleep and stuff. It's a true story, actually. That's not even a lie. That's like around the world, man. Parents are like figuring it out. They're like, just listen to Jeremiah. And they're like, yes, sir. And they're sleeping and snoring. But I'm looking at all this, and all of a sudden, I see this thing, and it just said, sorry, bro. And I'm like, what's that? I click on it, and lo and behold, guess what it was? Oh, it's the part of the book that talks about waking up early. I'm like, no. Can't allow that. God gouged my eyeballs out. I threw them away from me. I threw them away, Jake. I've been seeing through eye sockets today. These are paper mache eyeballs. These are Michael and Jeremiah, the biggest crossover yet. 100 and fire. You know, isn't that an awesome crossover, by the way? Isn't it? It's like a super band a little bit, if I can say so myself. If I can say so. And I did. Yeah, I did. Let's see. I don't know if you've been following Jeremiah lately, but he's awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This morning, Jeremiah and Mr. Flanders did a very interesting podcast on liberalism and meaning of Catholic. Yes, it's totally true. Totally true. You got to go check it out. You got to go check it out. Let's see. What do you think of Marxist Catholic Sam Roca saying to Trent Horn that Chesterton and Belloc are great when you're 19 or whatever? Yeah, that sounds pretty stupid. You know, and when you talk about a Marxist Catholic name anything, I'm like, what? He's not reading encyclicals. He's not doing a good job, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. It's one of those naughty no-nos. And one of those things like you cannot be these things at the same time. All right? You know, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just isn't the same. It's kind of obvious. You go, oh, yeah, it's the Marxist Catholic guy. What? That's funky town. That's nonsense. You know, it's like that's like a mountless motor mount. You know what I'm saying? It's a mountless motor mount, dude. Cordless extension cord. That's what it is. All right. Let's see here. How about beer through a straw once the Wolfpack chat reaches 150 members? I'll do that. It's borderline, but I'll do it. I will do it. I will do it, man. Okay. Let's see. Mikey Joe, Paleocrat. Woohoo! R&T time. Let's see. How about beer through a straw once the Wolfpack reaches? Okay, so is you saying the same thing? Oh, and then okay, you're reminding me again. This is terrible. So, okay, all right. Paleocrat. Let me get this over here so I'm not staring. Why am I doing that anyway? Okay. Paleocrat, people joke about having an OnlyFans as if it's just funny and normal. I know. And that, you know, it's like, it's one of those things. Oh, my wife is saying that my mouth is out of sync with audio. Is that true? I don't think so, man. My wife is constantly causing me troubles. She's the one, I think your audio's not on. Angela, from now on, if you don't see like 100 people saying that, don't say a word. Because I will believe you. I'll believe you and I'll be all nervous, biting my nails. I'm glad I didn't read that till just now. Yeah. Let's see here. I was thinking before Adam and Eve, people were just not fully human. So Adam was the first human, so was Eve. Civilization started 6,000 years ago, which coincides with Adam and Eve. There have been multiple civilizations. There have been multiple different ones. There have been civilizing influences, but multiple different civilizations, and they've come and died. I'm of a historical school of thought that believes that, by the way. Let's see. ND Irish, absolutely. But to Jeremiah's point, the hardest thing for me to realize is that even Christ didn't convert everyone. I know. Isn't that, it is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. But then again, you know, I mean, part of it was The idea that there were some that he said, look, their eyes are blind in case they would find out and actually convert. Those are difficult passages, by the way. Let's see, becoming a saint is the most powerful thing you can do, which requires debating or convincing no one. Yes, thank you. Only giving yourself to Christ and letting him work through you. And people would say, well, what about, giving the reason for your hope in Jesus? And you go, yeah, okay, that's true. But your idea for why you have hope in Christ Jesus, you can literally say, Jesus loves all the little children. Well, I don't believe that. But that's the reason I have for the hope of that. You don't need to be some scholar that can be like, we're 20 arguments in. How deep is it going to go? You don't have to be that person. 99.999% of human beings aren't. I'm grateful for folks like Michael Lofton. I'm grateful for folks, right? Like Trent Horn. I'm grateful for folks like Timothy Flanders. I'm grateful for folks like that. Okay? But at the same time, the Johnny Q and Sally Sue, while it's good for them to learn, at the same time, they don't want to, you run the risk so often of people thinking that the debate is going to all boil down to them. Oh, if I just win this debate right now with this rando Annan, this person online who's got like 3 followers, but he's really, really intense and he keeps responding really quickly to everything I say. If I just beat this guy, maybe it's not only worth the loss of my, happiness and joy and peace in my life. It's not only worth the time that I've lost sleeping, but also maybe it's going to change the whole world. Probably not. Probably not. I don't, maybe it is a future Martin Luther King on the other side of that anonymous account. It's possible. It is possible. Highly unlikely, though. Highly unlikely. The title of Fabro's work is God in Exile in the English translation, and it deals with similar problems as what Jeremiah is talking about, but it's purely philosophic, not political. Let's see here. Let's see. Now, people telling me I'm old. I'm not even listening to you. Not even. I ain't even going to listen to you right now. Yeah, James Danino. Oh, James, it's nice to see you, man. You're back. You're rolling. You're rolling in the deep. Talks about the encyclical on Christian citizenship. JB brought up this morning. Yes, I did. And I brought up recently in the Wolfpack chat. I cannot encourage people enough to go to the Wolfpack chat in order to become a member. It's free. Okay, we're at 130. Do we get 9 during the? No, how many do we get during the show? You guys are awesome. You guys and girls. I'm excited because there's more girls coming in. I got to be frank. Over at Meaning Catholic, those people are, a lot of dudes over there. Let's see. Jeremiah had been subscribed to Paleocrat more than a decade ago before you fell away. When you posted the conversion story on your channel, it popped up on my feed, so I'm familiar. But I'm guessing I'm missing Mrs. Bannister's perspective. Yes. That is something, you're not the only one who's talked about that, okay? In fact, I shared at the Wolfpack chat, and whenever I've talked about my wife, in speeches and stuff, like I did at a Valentine's Day speech and stuff like that, I always try to talk to her about what I'm doing. And even when I do the videos about our family and stuff like that, like I did one recently about the 5-year anniversary of my daughter's death, right? And how painful that was for me. So it wasn't recently, it was months ago now. But whenever I talk about that, I try really hard to make sure that I'm conversing with her because she's kind of a shy person, And in fact, it was one of those things where she's really grateful now that we're back, that she's really grateful to be starting at the first things because we kind of jumped the gun on a lot of this. We just were like, oh, Jeremiah has been debating in apologetics as a Protestant. He was going to seminary at Bonson Theological, and he was for a short while, and he'd been to Bible college, and he'd been a pastor, and he'd done TV and radio, and he's debating all these atheists and people. And so now he's a Catholic. Well, we're just going to just jump into the deep. We needed time in the kiddie pool, to be honest. We did. And I didn't do that for myself, and I didn't allow that for my family either. And it hurt all of us. We didn't start with prayer, and we didn't start with the basics. It would have been nice to do that, and that's the standard operating procedure now. But I'm going to try to get my wife. People are trying, right? And she said she's willing to do it, but she doesn't want to do it by herself. She would feel uncomfortable just being on a camera, just talking. She doesn't even do a lot of the camera stuff for, anything ever. Like, you see her pop in, and a lot of times she doesn't even want to get her face down in it and stuff. She's kind of a shy person, which is really weird because she is mega hot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's a sexy lady. Not gonna lie. I got the hottest secretary in the universe, man. Ah, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Is this Michael Lofton after a few drinks? Just kidding. Good to have you on, Paleocrat. Yeah, I'm glad for that, James. Is it dough finger? Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Andrea says, bye, ladies and gents. Gotta go. I hope Jeremiah will not exaggerate without his wife and coffee. What are you talking about? Exaggerate? What? Makes no sense. All right, let's see here. Xander says, I hate Death Cab for Cutie. Well, Xander, you were right about, Spoon Man and stuff. It's okay that you aren't entirely, you don't have like a perfect idea of music and stuff. You're still pretty good with you're still pretty good with Soundgarden. You're okay. You're okay, but you're missing out on Death Cab, man. I get it though. I get it. Let's see here. Yeah, and you've been getting into grunge again. I'm with you, man. Yeah. Anthony, he's the admin over at the Wolfpack chat. He talks about Adam Sandler's Grown Ups being a nostalgia where you're trying to recapture something you can't. I totally agree with that, by the way, bro. I totally agree with it. Let's see. Whoa. Why? Okay. RT and lately you, Paleocrat, have been a tremendous support. Thanks be to God. Look, Samuel, I appreciate it. And if you haven't reached out to me, if you're not on Telegram, you haven't reached out, anyone who tries to Gmail me, just stop. Just stop. Just get a free account over at Telegram. Just literally do it. Get a free account over there. You'll be able to contact me. I'll be able to send you audios and stuff of myself talking with you, do video chats if you want, whatever. And it's free. It's totally free. Oh my gosh, that's right. You guys got super chats. Sorry about that. Daniel says, I used to watch or follow your blog years ago. It seems like you went away for a while. At least you fell off the map. I didn't just fall off the map, man. I was an atheist for a long time. Daniel, I was a set of a contest, became an atheist, and after years, after my daughter passed away, she had brain cancer. She was 12 years old. She's my firstborn, Samantha Lee, and she's praying in heaven now for us. But it wasn't until after all that I even came back. And it's been years now, 2017. So I'm coming up now. It's Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, strangely enough, was my first mass I ever went to. Ever. Christmas Eve was also, when I was an unbeliever, it was the only time of the year where I actually went to mass. And I did it privately, or divine liturgy. Did it every time. Except for 1 year. There was 1 year. I'll talk about it a different time. But, it was always special to me. And Christmas Eve was the only time after leaving church that my daughter went to church with me. And it was awesome. She kissed baby Jesus. We went to divine liturgy. She kissed the icons, right? She sang, "The Lord have mercy." And she went home and she put little baby Jesus into the manger because we still had that. In fact, that the nativity scene is ultimately what led my son to ask if we could go to church where the godmother goes, because she gave us the pieces. Yeah. But I fell away. You can find out more about that. Just go to my YouTube channel, or just keep tuning in here, man. Yeah, we'll be talking a lot about it. Okay. Paleocrat, only 20 more to go, and the Wolfpack hits 150. We'll make it happen right now. If you're listening right now and you're like, what is this Wolfpack chat? Go find it right now. Go to, let's see here. Was up before 5 a.m., so beer is perfectly respectable at lunchtime. Rachel, you're right. It's totally true. I was up before 5. I was up at 4:15. Actually, to be honest, I was up at 4:20. I was up at 4:20. I told my wife, I said, look, I said, wake me up at 4. And she's like, at 4 o'clock? I said, no, 4:15. And she's like, okay, 4:15. And then my eyes kind of like opened a little bit and I got a smirk and I said, no, wake me up at 4:20. Okay, right here. Paleocrat, stop using genders. How dare you? How dare you? Okay, yep, there we go. All right. And then HRK, $25. Yes. Totally 100%. Totally 100%, man. So yeah, is that all we got? Is that it for the show? Are you serious? Is that all we've got going on for the show? Is it over for real? Is it over? Oh no! What am I gonna do? Studio mode. I gotta make sure that I got this off and I got that off. Oh yeah, because I want to show you real quick. Okay. All right, there we go. Studio mode off. I just want to show you real fast. Okay. Wow. So just since I have been on here, 55 comments, right? And a lot of these people are inside. The chat room, so they were busy in the YouTube chat. They're not even over here right now. I think Veronica, she popped up into the chat this morning and said it was 200 overnight for you. So the place is bumping. You want to talk to people, you want to share information with folks, you want to share memes, GIFs, download videos, do all that cool stuff, find all the different links, whether to the book club, whether to the prayer chain, the resource center, no matter what, you want to find all that. And of course, my stuff there. Just make sure you got to go here. Well, you know what? We're going right here. You can find that it's simple, t.me/thewolfpackchat. t.me/thewolfpackchat. That's how you do it. That's how you roll up in here. Okay? And this is how we roll when we say goodbye. I got to take this off. I'm pulling a Mr. Rogers now. Let everybody know, kind of like how he takes his shoes and stuff. I take off my ascot. I got it from Mr. Rogers, everybody. I'm so grateful to be part of this group here at Reason and Theology. I'm so grateful to Michael Lofton for allowing me this opportunity. I hope I made you proud, Michael. I hope that I make you proud, man. I hope that this is the jam that you see, that you catch the vision, right? You got a good trip going. You saw it and you started laughing. You started seeing crazy visuals of what a future could be like. And I hope you loved it, man, because I loved it. And you have a great audience. I've said it before. You've really built something great here. And it's just an honor to be part of it. Okay, so make sure you want to connect with me, just ignore that Gmail. Don't even dare. you do that, I will message you back and I will say, don't you dare. How dare you? Maybe you'll do that on purpose just so I do it. But you want to catch it for real, you go over to Telegram right now, okay? Check out my other work, Meaning of Catholic, okay? Meaning of Catholic. I got an interview coming out with Paleo Cheese podcast. It's going to be great. We talked to a guy who did a fantastic film called Come True, and it is it's just awesome. And we talked to him. He's the writer as well as the director, so it's great. So make sure to check all that out. Hold on. How do we do this? Oh, there we go. Make sure to go join Jeremiah Bannister on the Saint Maker Journey. You can do that at thesaintmaker.com/Paleocrat Diaries, or of course, Reason and Theology. Until next Monday. Until Wednesday and Friday over at NMOC. Never give up. Keep on smiling. And memento mori.
I wanted to make people dream bigger thoughts.